A true story about the problems of plastic in our oceans by Ellie Jackson and Liz Oldmeadow. Duffy's Lucky Escape. Once, off an island far, far away in the sun and the sea, lived a beautiful sea turtle called Duffy. She happily swam in the warm, clear waters of her coral reef, searching for tasty jellyfish and shimmering shoals of fish to eat. She liked to dive down to the sandy sea floor to munch on waving beds of delicious seagrass, and then she would float gently up to the surface to bask in the hot tropical sun. One day, a wild, ferocious storm whipped up the sea into towering waves which crashed down on poor Duffy. The storm raged on, sending her spinning and tumbling away from her home, pushing her far out to sea. After the storm, the sea became calm once more. Duffy found herself surrounded by strange shadows and unknown creatures that slid past her in the dark and murky waters. Duffy was hungry and began her search for food, desperately trying to find the rocks and reefs of home. Flashes of colour started to dance and twirl in front of her like the shimmering fish she remembered from her own coral reef. Slowly at first, then faster and faster she chased these colourful flashes, snapping them up in her mouth and gulping them down. Strange objects were floating around Duffy and looked like jellyfish in the gloomy waters. They had short tentacles and balloon-shaped bodies, and they wallowed slowly in the drifting currents. Duffy thought they were food and reached out through the water to swallow their slimy bodies into her rapidly filling tummy. For a long time, Duffy floated and rested on the surface as she was starting to feel strange inside her shell. Her tummy was hurting her, and a light, bubbly feeling kept gurgling up through her body. She longed for some cool seagrass to soothe her aching tummy, but she couldn't dive deep enough to reach any. She didn't understand what was happening to her, as her once powerful flippers felt weak and her body kept pulling her back to the surface. Duffy heard a loud roaring and whining noise circling around her. It scared and confused her so much that she didn't know which way to go. Suddenly, she was pulled backwards, then lifted up high out of the water and into the fisherman's boat. She lay quiet and still, frightened by the noise and the smells of the people who had rescued her. The fishermen had seen turtles like this before, floating and not able to dive, and they knew Duffy needed help. The kind fisherman slowly poured seawater over Duffy so she could stay cool on their journey to the safety and peace of the turtle hospital. At the turtle hospital, there were lots of blue tanks filled with clear running water, which were home to other sick turtles. Gentle hands cleaned and scraped the seaweed from her shell. Duffy was fed fresh fish, octopus and jellyfish to build up her strength, but still the pain inside her tummy grew. Duffy was placed on a special bed, with vets looking after her. As she drifted off to sleep, she dreamt of the beach where she was born. While she slept, she had an X-ray taken, which showed that the food she had eaten after the storm was not colourful fish or jellyfish, but plastic bags, bits of old drink bottles and crisp wrappers which people had thrown away and had washed into the sea or been left on the beach. The plastic rubbish floating in the sea had tricked Duffy to look like food, and she'd gobbled it up, which then made her very sick. The vets had to operate on Duffy to remove the plastic from her stomach, otherwise she would have died. Duffy was lucky, and as she started to recover, she grew stronger and heavier again. Her shell started to shine, her flippers were powerful, and her body was healthy. She was moved into a large tank with all the creatures she remembered from her reef. Darting colourful shoals of tropical fish, large and lumbering sharks and gliding rays. Duffy felt relaxed, confident in her strong swimming and graceful diving, and she enjoyed being with her new friends in the aquarium whilst the visitors watched and smiled. Finally, the day came when Duffy was fully recovered and ready to be released back to her home. People gathered on the beach to watch Duffy being returned to the sea. The children eagerly peered into her crate to see her, and the news cameras took pictures for the whole country to see. Duffy was carried down to the beach, where she looked around her at the 2 lines of cheering people and at the shimmering ocean she remembered so well. And then the strong hands released her, and finally she was free. She scrambled over the sand, instinct steering her down into the beach, into the warm water, and then under the sea, a breath once more, then under again. Duffy happily swam back to her home among the reefs and the seagrass, free of the plastic that people had put into the sea, free to chase and hunt, to swim and to dive once again.